Okay, welcome back. Last time we finished with the update of a node, so let's just recap a bit. We can activate the environment, so env/scripts /activate. Go to the back first, so we need to activate the backend. Python manage.py run server. Then create another command prompt or use the one from the Visual Studio. It's your choice. Go to the front end, hit npm start, and let's see where we stopped. So we have a list of nodes. We can go to the first node. We can edit it. So wash car edited. We can go back, and this is going to remain edited. So it's a little update. Another thing that we can add is like a delete button. This is going to be pretty easy. Let's go to Equalify design, search for get started, actually browse icons, that's the one, and let's search for a delete one. We can take whatever the one's prettier. I will just take the simple one, so let's take this one, copy it, go to the Visual Studio, and we should be into the pages now screen. Okay, and let's go to the SVG, new SVG, delete.svg, add it right here. Now we can use this as a React component. So from actually import React component, as we did last time, as delete button. From need to go to the SVG, that delete button SVG, and now we can use that one as a React component. Just go back, let's edit right down, so right here, like this. I'm going to make it smaller or bigger. It should be here, but I can see it. I think that is not into the node body. I still can see it. Let's copy it. The node body should be this one. If I add it right here, it should be okay. That's good. So this is going to be the head part, okay, and this is actually the body. This is why this is 80%, this is 10%, so 10%, 90%, I'm sorry, 90% height, 10% height. So this is the body, this is the header, this is the actually node, and this is the screen. So this is the screen, this is the node, so the full container, the full node, where the header is having 10% and the body is having the rest of the 90%. Okay, we can edit echo row, so let's put it into a div like this. So we can style it a bit, add the class name of delete svg, or we can just add the button actually. So let's say button, grab the delete button right here, and on click we want to call a function delete button requested, or just say delete node. And now we need to create this function, so function delete node. This is not going to take anything, so just console log deleted. Now if we hit the delete button, it printed out deleted. If you remember from the back, we actually have an endpoint. So if we go to back a bit, https localhost 8000, we just copy this one and add the port 8000. This is where the back should be, and we have the Swagger, so we configured it I think in the first video. So if we go for the Swagger, we can see that we have an endpoint. We don't have an endpoint for the delete of the node. We have for users, so let's create it real quick. The notes app view, We don't have a delete. Nice. Just did real quick. So we have the class notes view where we have post, put, get. We just to say def delete, and this one is going to get the request and the ID of the node we want to delete. We can do a try except object does not exist, and we can return data not found. And maybe except exception. Maybe we don't really know the exception. Let's set the pass right here so we don't get these errors. Pay attention to the indexing, sorry, and just retrieve print error so we can see it in the terminal if we are going to have an exception, and return the response zero exception. Okay, we delete the pass. We want to search, so we get the ID of the node we want to delete. Just say node equal to node with objects that get ID equal to the pk. If this is not going to be existing in the database, we're going to get this exception and it's going to return ID not found, and we can just hit node.delete. This is all we need to do, and then return a response which is going to say data success and the status of 200, so the 200 success. Okay, now if I refresh the Swagger, just for you that can remember this, the URLs, it's having nodes and pk, which is going to call the node class, and this is going to have the delete function. Okay, now I know that we have to delete endpoints because we call the class twice. So we have a URL where we have nodes and we are calling this class, so the Swagger is going to register it as for one get, one post, one put, one delete without an ID. So the idea is that we have the nodes URL and we call this class, is going to register that we have 4 endpoints, and then again we are calling this class with an ID and it's going to register that we have again 4 endpoints. We can do it better than this, so we can get rid of this, but it's not the point in this video. Just understand that for the delete we are going to use the ID, the one with the ID. For the put we are going to use again the one with the ID. For the post the one without ID. And for the get it depends. If we give the ID, it's going to call this endpoint, it's going to call this class, it's going to search for the get, and the pk is not going to be known, it's going to get the ID that we added. If we call the get nodes, so try it out, execute, this is going to go again here, but this time it's going to call this URL without ID, it's going to be a get request, it's going to go back right here, the pk is going to be still none, it's going to into else, it's going to retrieve all the data, sorry, in the if. That's the idea. So let's try it out. If I get an ID, so wash car, or this one, nice, let's delete it. If you go to the delete nodes, try it out, add the 2 right here, execute. We got a problem. Note that delete got multiple values for argument pk. Let's see why. It should be happening. Node view.delete got multiple values for argument pk. So we went for the nodes and 2 and we added the delete request. Let's go to the backend terminal so we can see the log error. If we make this one a bit bigger, and let me see, so we call nodes 2, delete is having the primary key. Oh, we forgot about the self. So they haven't added the fields correctly. the self is this keyword, so, and we need to add by default because Python is not offering it by default, so we need to add it right here because it's a class. Okay, and now it should work. Okay, success. We deleted the note, and if we go to get notes and we don't offer the ID, we don't have the other one, and native here. Okay, now we can go here and let's call the endpoint. So copy this one, not the get, sorry, the delete note, copy the URL. This is the one that we need to request. And now back into the front, and we go to the note screen. In change of console logging, this is going to be an async function because you want to wait for the response at the try catch, so you don't get an error. Console log that error, and we can just say const response equal to wait axios .get .delete. Sorry, this is a delete request. This is why it's going to know to call the delete function from the class. And if you remember, we need to add the ID of the node we want to delete through the URL as a PK, and we can get the PK right here. We have it from the node page, and just hit save and console log the response just to save it. Now if we go again, let's go for the wash car and click delete. If you go to inspect, if you go to console, I don't see the response. Taking it to the error. Yep, 500 internal server errors, so the problem is into the back. I feel the idea is put the number but got PK. Sorry, $sign and brackets, so we can add the variable PK. Hit again delete. If you go right here, we got the response from the back. This one, sorry, this is the get, this is the delete, data success. And now if we refresh it, if we go back, you see that it's deleted. Now let's add the add button. So add, copy this one, and we are going to do the same. So we need another screen, but firstly, after we deleted the node, let's say navigate back to the first screen like this. Okay, into the SVG, new file, add.svg, and let's add it to the home screen. So in the home screen, let me see, we can add it to the header too. So right where is the node title, and we can go up and say the same, import React component as React component as add button. From, we need to go to the SVG file and then select the add one, and now we can use the add button as a React component, and we just need to edit right here. So add button. So it's not fine. I think I forgot to paste the actual SVG. So let's go back to browse icons, copy the SVG, go back to the code and paste it right here, save. Data should go, okay, it's a bit too big. So what we can do is just adjust a bit here, the size, 35 to 35 maybe, should be enough. Okay, and I want to move it to the right. How we can do it? Just add it into a div, so we can edit it like this, and let's say into the div a bit of style, of position of relative left, margin left, auto. Never mind, just say position of absolute and the right of 0. This is going to make it as much to the right as possible. And if you remember from the video, the position of absolute is something like, okay, I don't give about anything, I don't give a fuck about anything. But if you add here a position of relative, it's going to care about this one, so it's not going to pass over it. If I delete this one and let's add the background color of red so you can see it, it really doesn't care about anything. Let me just delete this one. So it should be right into the right because it's not giving a fuck about the other elements from the page. But if you add the position of the relative from for the parent, it's going to keep it from running away. Just add the position of the relative right here. Okay. That's the easiest way to manage it. So add the 3 EM. Okay, that's good. I don't know why I added the top here, just delete it. Let's make this div add its elements to the center, so we can say display flex, align items center, and justify content center. This is going to make the stuff a bit more aligned. So from what you can see, it centered everything from its body. Make this paragraph a bit bigger, maybe change it to H3 or this H1. Nothing. Yes, because we added the font size right here, so it's overriding it. I should be a bit too big. That's good enough. The button can be a bit bigger, so we can just go here into the SVG and add a 5, let's say a 50. Okay, and then I'm clicking the button. I want to be prompted to another page, so let's make another page. We can copy the note screen, so pages, and say note add dot JavaScript. Paste this one right here, change this one to note add, copy it and change the name of the function too. Delete everything from the function, but leave the HTML because I still want it. We don't have a value right now. Actually, we're going to keep the states, so I still want to keep the states, but empty. So you can get the name and the description back. Go back to the notepad. Okay, this is going to be handle input change. We are going to copy this one too. Note screen, handle description, handle input, notepad, paste it right here. Okay, that's good. And this page, so let's go here and make another path, another route. So the path is going to be note add page, and the component we are going to call add note add. You need to import it right here. So when we are going to the path note add, we want to render this page. Edit the home screen when we click on the add button. So this one can be an actual button. On click, handle add button. We can make another function, handle add button, which is just going to navigate us to the URL. So this URL, which is going to call noteAdd. So let's say const navigate equal to use navigate. Let's just add navigate to the, I called it noteAdd. So noteAdd, and the slash at the beginning. handle back is not defined, and delete node. This is why it's not really good to copy everything. So we don't have a delete button when we are going to insert. Anything else? Handle back. We need to copy the handle back, I guess. Yep, I'm going to copy it. So if you go to note screen again, go to handle back, copy it. And this one is going to make a request for the insert. So it's going to have a post request. And for the insert, if you remember into the Swagger, we are going to call the post without ID to this one, nodes as a post request. So we add post here, and we offer the data for the node that we want to insert. Anything else? Should be good enough. So I want to see the errors. Not navigate. And we are not going to have these ifs. Actually, we can have them. So if name is not empty string, so we write in something, and the description is not. Actually, we can have without description. So just the name needs to be without. The name should have this one character. This should be enough. Navigate, we need to import the navigate. So const navigate equal use navigate, because we need to be able to do that navigation to the back of the page. So the click button, it got prompted to this page. Let's add a border right here. So leave it by default, and the same for the input, because right now you don't really have text and you kind of need to see where you can write. It looks awful, but it's going to look better in the next video. This is the last video that we need to do stuff. We are just going to style next time. So let's try it out. Remember, if you go back, if you click back, we are going to call handle back. Just going to try to insert the data and then navigate us back. Okay, and let's say random stuff. Go to the inspect and see what it's going to do. Because if we are consolidating the response, so click back and we got an error. Amazing. The response is 400 bad requests. I think because we haven't offered the user for the user that needs to have this node. So we can expand this a bit more. In the back, right now we don't have authentication. So if you go to view, when we're inserting a node, we are asking for the user as the problem. But right now we don't have any user, so we can just say data of user is going to be equal to user dot objects dot get of ID 1, because for sure we are having a user with ID 1. Now if we hit a refresh and try to edit again, so plus, add the description, go back, and if we go to inspect, we console log the response, access.error, and again, let's see the other error. Errors, incorrect type, expected PK. So we don't need to send the whole user, we just need to send the ID of the user that we queried. Let's do it again. At the end we are going to make like a little recap, okay? And it inserted, and we can update it. So update random, go back, it get updated, and that's all. And we can delete it. Good. That's good to see that it works. So we have the CRUD functionality. Let's make a little recap. I think that the fact that we are having more endpoints right here, it's a bit annoying. The idea is that I wanted to make everything pretty simple, so we don't have a lot of classes, and we did everything into one class, but this figure can be annoying like this. So let me just explain a bit why we're having extra endpoints. The idea is that if the URLs right now we are having nodes and an ID. Okay, let me just change it so it can be a bit easier for you. In the node view, we are having a class with 4 functions, and we are calling this class when we are going to nodes and ID, but we are calling the same class when we are going to nodes, and again it's going to enter another 4 endpoints, which is not good. So let's just make 2 classes. A class which wants an ID, which is going to implement the post, and a class that doesn't want ID. So we're going to leave the node view, but let's call it node view without ID request, so it can be easy for you, like this. And let's make another one class with ID request, which is going to inherit again the API view. Just a second. This one is going to be copied and added here. Okay, like this. Let's do the same for the user. Actually, I think that we did it for the user right now. Yep, we did it for the user. So that's not good. Let's go back to the user view. Actually, it's I did what I wanted to do into the node. Let's just Ctrl Z the user. So in the nodes view, we have changed the name of the class with node view without ID request, and we went to the URL and said, okay, now this is not going to implement node view, it's going to implement node view without ID request, but this one is asking for an ID, so let's add it right here. And this one is going to be called with ID request. And let's create this one. So if you go to the Notes app, copy everything from the put, and make another class nodes view with ID request is going to inherit from API view. This is going to inherit from API view, so we can use these functions. Yep. What's the problem with the definition? Okay. And let's copy the name of the class. So okay, it's good. Let's do the same for the user. So user view with ID request, copy it, go to the user view, go up to the class, change the name, user view with ID request, and let's call it without ID request, and this is going to have only the post because the put, get, and the other ones require an ID. So def user with ID request, user view with ID request is going to inherit again from the API view. This is going to be a class, sorry. So API view, paste the put, paste the get, and press the delete. Okay, so let's recap a bit. Now we made two classes. A class that is going to ask for the ID for its functions, and a class that is not going to, a class that is not going to ask for the ID for its functions. So NoteView without ID request is going to implement the create method because it doesn't require an ID to create the node. NoteView with ID request, where is going to be the put method, the delete method, and the get method, because those three requires an ID. But this one implements again two stuff. So I want to, so this is going to request an ID. So we're going to leave the part that's doing the logic for the ID, and let's copy the first part, delete the if, because we're going to always have an ID, and make another function here, def get self request. And remember, this class doesn't require an ID, so the get from this class is going to query all the data. Okay, let's do the same for the user. So let's get this get, delete the if, delete the else, copy this one, actually copy everything, delete the none, delete this one for here, because we are going to move into the first class, paste it right here. And now let's recap a bit what we have done. But if we save and go back to the Swagger, we should be having less endpoints. Let me just see. So the URL is changed. We need to change the URLs. Users view dot user view with ID request and user view without ID request. And now you can see that for the nodes we have get nodes, all nodes, get one node, create node, update node, delete node, and for the user the same, so it's a bit cleaner. What we did different. So now we are having two classes. A class that is implementing the functions that doesn't require an ID. So we have the post and the get without an ID, which means that it's going to query all the data from the back in the node with view without ID request. And the functions that require an ID, so the delete requires an ID, the get by ID, the put, this is by the way returning the node based off an ID, they requires ID, so I added them into a class node view with ID request. And we just change the URL. So when we're going to call nodes slash and an ID, we want to call the class node view with ID request. When we are going to call the URL nodes, we're going to call the class node view without ID request. Okay, and the same for the users. So the same for the users, we created two classes, user view without ID request, where we have implemented the post and get. This we can delete the node from here and the PK, and we created the put, get by ID, and the delete in another class. So let me explain to you. If we go to get nodes, let's try execute. We are just calling the endpoint. We see that we called this URL, so this path. If we get it to the Google, it's going to give us the same data. So we made a get request to the nodes URL, which went like here. So localhost 8000 our server and nodes, which called the node view without ID request, and it was the get method. So it went right here, and it did the logic. It queried all the nodes, it serialized them, and it returned them to us. If I go to get nodes, but I add an ID, one, execute, it called nodes and an ID at the end, so one. We didn't find ID. Okay, so we didn't have the node with ID 1 or 2. And give me the node. Let's add it 3 here. It called the URL nodes and ID. let's go to the URLs and search for the nodes and ID. So it called the first class. It was a get request. So it went to the class with the ID request and it searched for the get. Okay, that's the idea. When we are on the UI, so refresh. So I hit refresh. So we want, what's the UI doing? We are into the home screen. When we start the page, we call the get nodes, which is calling backend server and nodes. What is doing this URL? Backend server nodes is calling the node view without ID request, and if you remember, it's a get request. So it's a get request and it's calling this URL nodes. So nodes URL. So it's going to call this class, and because it's a get request, it's going to go for the get. Another example. If you go to node screen, so into the node screen, we call server, backend server, nodes, and 1 or 2 or 3 or 1 ID. Okay, this is going again to the backend URLs. This time it's nodes, and we added an ID. So the Django is going to take that ID, is going to call the node with ID request. Remember, it's a get request. So it's going to go right here. It's going to search for the get. This is the get. It's going to offer us the node with that ID. Okay. Another example. Into the node page, if we hit delete, so delete button is going to call delete node. This is going to call the endpoint nodes ID again. So the same endpoint, but this time is a delete request. So backend URLs, nodes, and then ID. So not view with ID request, but it was a delete request. So access.delete. So it's going to search for the delete function from this class called, okay, which is just going to delete the node. If we go again to the back, to the front end, sorry, Notepad, we are calling. So we have the data I want to offer to the back, and we are calling server, so the backend, nodes, and we are offering the data, so the name and the description of a new node that we want to insert. Okay, so it's a post request. It's asking for the backend server nodes, and it's offering data. And in the back, remember, nodes without an ID is going to call the node view without ID request class. It's a post request, so this one, and we offer the data, so the name and the description, whatever it was, and you can get that like this. So this data, this one, okay, which is the name and the description for the node we want to add, and it's just going to do the rest of the logic. That's the idea that we are going to apply for the users too. Okay, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope that the explanation was pretty good. That's it. Have a beautiful day.